What is up, future rich bitches? Welcome to my channel. For those of you who are new here, I am Madeline, and at this channel, I help empower women to change their money mindset and start focusing on investing and wealth building and trying to become a future rich bitch. So if that is something that you are into, make sure to subscribe to this channel. Every Saturday, I release a new video, and in just 15 minutes a week, you can start to build your financial literacy so that you too can become a rich bitch. So make sure to subscribe, and if you like this video, give it a like because it helps with the algorithm, and I want to be a rich bitch too. For the month of October, I want to focus on people's financial fears. I mean, finance is scary, money is scary. People are just always terrified of losing money or of one day not having enough money. So I thought I would help reduce some of the anxiety and fear that comes with money and finance this month because it's spooky Halloween month. So there's no better topic than spooky money problems. So for our first October fear, I'm going to talk about, are you afraid that you'll be in debt forever? This is a really common fear. 80% of Americans have debt. So if you have debt, you are not alone in this at all. You have a lot of people in the same boat as you. And if you do like a quick Google search or look up on Instagram, you know, like some finance stuff, you're going to find so much about how you have to be debt free and that, you know, debt is just the stupidest financial decision that you can make. And so you might think I'm crazy for saying this, and this is definitely not a popular thought in finance communities, but debt is not necessarily bad. So if you have debt, that's okay. Let me repeat that. Having debt is totally okay. If you don't believe me, that's okay. You will by the end of this video because I'm going to tell you all about how debt works, how you can use it to propel yourself to the next level and reach your goals, and I'm going to give you my 2 steps for calculating whether using debt is a good option in a scenario or a bad option for pretty much any scenario you're looking at using debt as a financing tool in. So let's get started first with how debt works. Debt refers to money that you owe. So when you use debt to finance a purchase, you ask a lender to loan you the money that you need, and they will give you the money for your purchase and then charge you an additional fee for using their money instead of your own in the form of interest. So loaning money to people and charging them this interest is how lenders, or for the most part banks, make their money. So if you're wondering how banks have so much money that they can just lend it out to whoever wants to buy a house or go to college or whatever, that's a good question. And it starts with when you deposit money into your bank. That's where they get the cash that they need to make loans to people. So when you deposit money into a savings, the bank, contrary to what you may believe, does not like keep this hidden in a tiny little safe with your name on it. They actually then deploy that out in a loan to someone else so that they can make money on the money that you deposited in the form of interest. So this might sound like a crazy concept to you, but it's actually no different than you deciding to invest money instead of continue to save. Just like you investing and wanting to make your money work for you, the bank is doing the same thing. If they just kept your money sitting in a savings, they couldn't make any money, or it would just be sitting there, useless to them. So instead, they decide to loan it out and make money and make their money work for them as well. So this might sound really scary, but just like you should have an emergency savings, banks also have kind of an emergency savings in reserve requirements. And this is just the amount of money that they're required to keep in the vault at the nearest Federal Reserve Bank. So once they have that emergency savings in their vault, then they can loan out the rest to make money off of, but they do have this as a little cushion. So now that you know about debt and how it works, then how can you use debt to propel yourself to the next level? Like we discussed previously, banks use loans to make money. So I want you to understand that when you go to a bank for a loan, they do not care what you use the loan for, or if it will make you money, or if you are going to lose money. All they care about is if they can make money off of it. So what they will look at is the risk of you not being able to pay it back versus the likelihood that you will and they can make money. And as long as you meet their requirements for how risky you are to lend to versus the reward they can receive by lending to you, they will give you a loan. So make sure that anytime you're going to use a loan, you go in with the mindset that the bank's goal is to make money off of you. They do not have your best intentions at heart. So you need to do your due diligence and make sure that this loan that you're going to take out will help build you wealth and get you to the next milestone in your life, as opposed to you essentially just making the bank more money and not winning on your end as well. So to help you understand this a little bit better, let's look at who the winners and losers are in the scenario of you having credit card debt. There are 3 parties involved in this transaction. So the credit card company, the merchant or the store that you are purchasing from, and you. So let's look at each of these parties who are involved in this transaction and see who comes out on the winning side and who comes out on the losing side. So we'll start with the credit card company. So the credit card company, what they do in this is you swipe your credit card at the store to buy something. They pay the balance of that to the merchant for you and then bill you at the end of the month for all of the purchases you made and they paid for. So if you don't pay your bill off in full, they will then charge you an insanely high interest rate, almost double the expected return you can receive on the stock market. So that's insane. Because that means that if you hold a balance on your credit card, which means you're in credit card debt and you don't pay your credit card off every month, you're paying the bank almost double what they could have received if they had, instead of paying for your purchases, invested that money in the stock market. That means that banks are receiving some of their highest returns from your credit card debt. So if you don't want bankers to make more money, stop holding balances on your credit card. So in this scenario, your credit card company or bank who is paying for these transactions is definitely a winner because you're paying them an enormous amount of money to make purchases on your credit card, much more than they can receive from like a lot of other investment options. So definitely they're coming out on top. So now let's look at the merchant. So the merchant is the store that you're purchasing from. So when you make the purchase on your credit card, the credit card company actually pays the merchant for your purchase. So they get paid in full. And again, they come out winning. They don't care who pays them, if it's you or the credit card company. They just want to be paid in full. And the credit card company does that for you. So again, winner. Now let's look at you in this scenario. So you may think, well, I got the item that I wanted and I'm happy. So obviously I'm also a winner. But I have really bad news for you. So by you paying that extremely high interest rate, if you carry a balance on your credit card, you are just paying more than the value of whatever it was that you bought. And if you would have bought it in cash, you wouldn't be paying that extra. So like, let's say that you went up to the counter with whatever it is that you're buying and they were like, oh, you have to pay 18% more actually than the price that was listed. You would be pissed and you would be like, hell no, and walk out and not buy the item. But that's exactly what you're doing when you carry a credit card balance. It is no different. You're just paying it to the bank or the credit card company. So you are a loser in this scenario. Sorry, if you have credit card debt, pay that shit off. It's so bad. So now let's look at an example of how you can use debt and become a winner in a scenario and use it in a way that will propel you to build wealth, reach your next goals, and into a level that you wouldn't have been able to get into as easily if you hadn't used debt. So a great example for this is student loans. I know, the scariest, most dreaded loans of all, but student loans actually are just not a bad idea. So in the scenario where you're using student loans to pay for college, there are also 3 parties involved in this transaction. So it's going to be the lender, the school, and you again. So the lender is just whoever you get the loans from. And again, they're just going to pay your tuition for you and make interest from you paying off your loans later. So again, they make money, they're a winner. Then the school in this scenario is similar to the merchant in the previous scenario, where they're getting paid in full for the tuition, so they don't care who's paying them as long as they're getting paid and they're being paid in full. So again, they're a winner. But in this scenario, you're actually also a winner. And that's because people with college degrees make on average over their lifetime about $1 million more than non-degree holders. So that is probably far more than you'll ever pay in interest on your student loans. Since your earning potential far outweighs the added expense of interest, you're definitely still a winner. This degree and using a loan to get it is going to propel you to a level and give you opportunities for jobs, working at companies, and in positions that you wouldn't be able to had you have not gotten this degree for most people. So I would argue getting a degree using student loans, definitely you're a winner, and stop feeling bad about them. There is no need. You are on the right track to build wealth, earn more, and make more money. So now that you've seen a couple examples of how not to use debt and how you can use it in a good way to propel yourself to the next level, I'm going to give you my 2 steps for how you can evaluate really any kind of scenario where you're going in thinking about using a loan as an option. So step number 1 is to calculate the money out. And that just means any of the spending from your loan. So that's going to be the purchase price of the asset or the amount that you take the loan out for. And then also it's going to include the additional interest expense that you're going to incur. So like, let's say you were taking out a mortgage to buy a house, you would factor in, like renovations and closing costs, all of that stuff into your loan amount. And then let's say you're getting the house with all of that included for $200,000. So that's going to be the starting amount that you're going to use to buy this asset. Typically, mortgages are taken out for 30-year periods. The average interest rate, I think, is about 3.5% right now on these. So let's say those are your loan terms. So the interest expense over the 30 years at 3.5% that you will end up paying is going to be $123,000. Now, that's a lot considering you bought a $200,000 house, right? Like, is that worth it? You end up thinking you're getting something for $200,000, but really you're going to end up paying $323,000 for it. Is that worth it? So to figure that out, then you need to calculate the money in, which is step 2. So to do that, you're going to calculate what you think the future selling price would be, and also add in any kind of income that this asset will generate for you over the life of the asset. So if you're buying a home for yourself, it's not going to generate any income, obviously, because you're living in there. So in our example, you can just not worry about that. But if you buy like a rental property, the rent that you receive would be income that your asset generates over the life of the asset. And also, like, if you buy a machine that can produce a product that you can later sell to make money, that would be income generating. So if you're using the asset that you're buying to make more money, and then you can include that. But for this example, you're going to live in the house, so no income generation, so we can forget about that one. But what is the future selling price of your house going to be? So appreciation in the US on average is about 4% a year. So let's say your $200,000 house is going to appreciate at 4% a year over 30 years. So if you sell the house in 30 years at 4% annual appreciation, you will be able to sell the house for $648,000. Now, if you take a look at the money out versus the money in, basically to understand if you should use debt to finance a purchase, you just want the money in to be greater than the money out. So the money out in this scenario was $323,000, and then your estimated future selling price is $648,000. So in this scenario, that would be definitely a win to use debt because you can make $325,000. And while we definitely thought that $123,000 for interest expense was really high, and it is, but when you compare that to the amount that you can make over the same amount of time, it just pales in comparison. So those are my 2 steps for how you can, in pretty much any scenario, go in and say, am I going to come out a winner by using debt in this scenario, or should I look at another financing method or save up for the purchase, whatever it is. I hope this helped. I'm going to do a bonus episode later this week on how to use debt the right way, where I will cover the 5 most commonly used debt types and tell you how you can use them the right way so that you can make money. So if you're interested in that, make sure to subscribe. And for the rest of this month, I'm going to be helping you feel less anxious about money. So if you feel anxious about your money or finances, definitely subscribe. In just 15 minutes a week, I am going to help you feel more confident about your finances. If you like this video and it helped you out and maybe made you feel a little bit less afraid of debt, then give this video a like. And thanks so much for tuning in. I will see you soon.